A very good morning to each and every one of you, and welcome to FYI. For your information, guys, we trust that you are great. We trust that you are well. We are so happy to see each and every one of you. How have you folks been doing? And those of you who are joining us here from the national capital city and in Guyana, in particular, where we broadcast live from, those of you who are joining us in the region and internationally, Region 11, the diaspora, we are happy that you folks are here with us. How has it been, guys? How are you doing this morning? Good to see all of our usual favorite folks. Yolanda Thomas, good to see you there. Yolanda, good to see you. And Horace and Tommy Gibbs. I see Evelina Whitaker is with us. Fidel Innes. Good to have all of the good folks with us this morning. Guys, as we come on, we don't want to waste any time. So we encourage you to share the live. Smash that emoji button for us, guys, and let's have a go at it. Let's go down the road. Good to see you folks, wherever you are joining us from. How has the morning started at your end? How has the morning started at your end? Do let us know, good folks. Do let us know how the morning has started at your end. Great to see each and every one of you on the other side. Is it me or we see him a little blurry this morning? Hopefully that rectifies itself. We're seeing ourselves crystal clear in the back here, but I'm taking a peek over on social media, and it seems a little, the guys would say, pixelated. We hope that irons out itself. But good to see you, Pollyanna Schultz, and all of those other folks who are joining us from the various places. Good to see you. Is it Shoreen Hornkirk? Good to have you as well. Good to have each and every one of you, as a matter of fact, wherever you guys are joining us from. We are crystal clear at our end, so we're hoping that if you are seeing us a little pixelated, and that sorts itself out eventually. Debbie Collins, Bella Mona, Tamika Fraser, Alexis Chamberlain, we see as well, and Samantha, Evelina, Moses. Great to have you guys in the various places you are joining us from. Patricia Grizandi Goodman, great to have you as well, Patricia. Amanda Kendall, we see you there, Amanda. We see you there. We trust that you're good. We trust that you are great. And all the other folks are joining us. When you're joining us on Twitter, you're joining us on the Tube, you're joining us on Facebook, wherever you're joining us from. We are delighted that you guys are here. LinkedIn, even some folks rocket coming from LinkedIn. But we are happy and delighted that you folks are here with us. And we hope that if you're getting us a little pixelated on social media, then that clears up. We are crystal clear at our end. So hopefully that regularizes itself shortly. Great to see again each and every one of you from wherever you guys are joining us from. Good to have you folks on the live. Good to have you folks on the live with us. Good to see each and every one of you. How you folks are doing? Mavis Davis Wells is here, and she says, good morning. Good morning to you, all valued viewers and credible commentators. Leon Blair is here. Gloria Skinner. All the glories come out this morning. Good to have you guys on the live this morning. Great to have you folks with us, wherever you're joining us. So we got a lot to share with you guys, and we want to get to some very important things are happening. Serious things are happening. I want to share some of that with you. Ingrid Ambrose, we see you there, Ingrid. We spot you there, Ingrid. Good to have you. Yolanda Thomas, thank you for that contribution. Thank you, Yolanda, for that contribution live on our YouTube channel. In the comment, there's a $sign there, and you follow that $sign, and you can contribute to our program. But it only happens when we're live. The feature is only available when we are live. And we want to thank the good folks there on YouTube. You know, the good folks at YouTube who keeps improving. Folks, if you're joining us from YouTube, do make sure that you're following us. Ensure that you are following us on YouTube. Please ensure you are following us on the tube. All right, do that for us. Ensure you are following us on the tube. We didn't check anything else. Nothing else is going to do. Ensure you're following us on the tube, good folks, and so that you get all the notifications, etc., when it comes through. Ensure you're following us on the tube. This is what our channel looks like. So when you get in there, you type credible sources, and this is some of what you should be seeing. Right? This is what the theme of our website looks like on YouTube. Our landing page. Yep. Folks, we're fired up here, ready to go. It's raining where we are. Raining in the national capital city. It's raining. And we want to get to the morning papers. But good to see each and every one of you out here, guys. Good to see you folks out here. Want to get to some of what we were following in the morning papers today. Want to turn our attention to that. But while we head there, John Baines and Bella Mona, good to have you. Leon Blair and Kim Luke, Delroy, Dazel, good to have you. Michaela and all the other folks who are joining us. Jonayana, baby Sandy Ford, good to see you there. Great to see you there. We want to turn our attention now to some of what we're tracking and picking up in the morning papers, folks. Again, I want to say good morning to each and every one of you, wherever you're joining us from. Outfront Parks is here. Good to have you. Sheila Boy Child, where you be? And Beatrice Selby, where are you? Where are you, folks? Good to see you. Good to see you guys there. Karen Lillian Enderjit, Caribbean Skeldon, good to have you guys on the live. Folks, we ready? We ready? Delroy says, rain, it's true. John Jones, it's raining where we are, and we hope that you guys are good wherever you are joining us from. We hope that things are good at your end. Let's head into one of those headlines that we're tracking this morning. First up, they're telling us this fatal accident by the Kanji Bridge there in Bubis. It's still under investigation. Folks are having a really tough time with this one, because one of the things that's happening there, police taking their own due time and dragging their feet on this one. But they're telling us that the matter is still being investigated. The man was just, going home from work, and he is knocked down by someone. Going home from work, minding his own business, and that's the end of it. Two people in a vehicle. The man was Glenn McLeod. Two people are in a vehicle, and the police are telling us now they're trying to ascertain who was the person driving the vehicle. The person purporting to be the passenger, based on the injury, looks like they were the one driving the vehicle. Now, how long is it going to take us to ascertain that? That's what I want to know. How long is it going to take us to ascertain that? How long should it take us to ascertain that? The folks who might have been seen as a little pixelated, you know what happens. There are times when we could be broadcasting at a higher resolution, and Facebook takes a little while because it broadcasts in 750, and we might be in 1080. If you know, you know. Don't stress about it. if you know, you know. And so it takes them a moment or two to break it down in a manageable format, and that's why you get some of the pixelation as they attempt to do that. That's why we get a lot of that pixelation, and there's little that we can do from the back end, more or less once we live. There's very little we can do from the back end once we live. So we just want to alert you guys to that, and to say bear with us where those things are concerned. All right, but good to have you guys here. And so Glenn McLeod lost his life in that manner, and the police said they're trying to ascertain who the driver of that vehicle was. And we don't know how long that's going to take, because this accident happened a little while now. How long is that going to take? You know, when can Glenn's family, get justice? That's what they're telling us. Glenn was a security guard attached to the New Amsterdam Technical Institute and was heading to work when he was struck by a speeding car. And this was since the 27th of March. And they said they're trying to ascertain who was the driver of the car. And this is how it goes. You know, next year could come this time and we're no closer. You see, everything in this country is about making noise. When you make noise, people protest and so on, then you get action. It's a feature under this administration. People cannot just professionally discharge their functions in an unbiased manner. Somebody can be trying to take a little money under the table, some silliness like that. Well, the folks want justice. Yvonne Ramasara from the UK, good to see you, Yvonne and Daniel and all the other guys joining us. Annette Cummins, great to see you, Annette. John Jones, good to see you as well. So that's one of the headlines we're tracking, and the family wants justice. The family wants justice. Here's another headline that we are tracking. There was a letter to the letter to the editor. These are things that people don't talk about. Minister of Fisheries and Livestock, then Sataur Saw, was assassinated, Chinese, at home and abroad. Men barge into their homes, you see? And it's a feature under this current regime. A feature always under the PPP, how crime always spirals under the tenure. Sataur Saw and members of his family, including the dog, were brutally killed. The PPP has never launched an inquiry. No one has ever been brought to justice for killing one of their ministers, assassinating one of their ministers. Well, the family is yet again writing to the press, hence the letter to the editor, and asking for justice. Now, Sataur Saw, as far as I know, wasn't a crossover. These are folks we call pure blood PPP. Like how you got some pure blood APNU and PNC folks. Right? 17 years ago, that's how long. So there was no investigation under their administration then. And now back 3 years later, in the halls and at the helm of power, no investigation now. The father the family yet again. Very short letter in the paper. Let me run it. One paragraph. Indefatigably, untiring. That's what they mean to say. Untiring we have been. The family of the late Sataur Saw marks 17 years. They mark 17 years since the brutal demise of our beloved father and relatives. Incredibly, so much time has precipitated and so little action for an event that was so devastating to so many people. Ineffectually, theories ranging from the silly to the sinister have been proffered. Each, however, lacks meaningful evidence. Insistently, our family agitates for more to be done to get to the bottom of what happened. We unapologetically just want to know why. They want closure. And finally, they say in this letter, invariably the light banishes the darkness. Inevitably, the truth must emerge. In loving memory, we keep the faith. In loving memory, we keep the faith. If the PPP cannot even look out for their own, cannot even love their own to the extent of a meaningful investigation, no, they're going to bring a COI for looking to trumped up electoral charges and issues. All kinds of people before the court over trumped up charges. But on the Sataur Saw issue, investigation, 17 years later, Wasn't Jagdio going after that? Pursuing the truth wherever it leads. On that issue, folks, if you're not young enough to know who Sataur Saw, again, he was a minister. Like Onesh Wadron is a minister. Like Prem Manik Chan is a minister. Like Ejil is a minister. A sitting minister. When he was assassinated, and you all could see in 3 years the excitement in which the PPS pursued anything related to Sataur Saw and bringing the perpetrators of his brutal murder to justice. Right? They don't touch that at all. Could it be that some of them would be implicated? Could it be that some high-ranking PPP officials would be implicated? Could it be that they're not touching that? They're not touching that. And if you all can love and look out for your own Sataur Saw, I can imagine some of you are so stupid to think they would ever care anything much about you. You know? So stupid to think they'd ever care much about you. So they see how they love accountability and transparency and so on. Oh, we want to appoint a substantive Chief Justice and Chancellor of the Judiciary. We want to do that. You know, but we need to put some things in place first. Like the Judicial Service Commission, we're still waiting. You know, these guys know who they could kerfuffle, and clearly it's not us. They know the weak among us, who they can persuade with nonsense. They know that. They know the weak. You know, who they can lure with those chasing the green. Right? Who they can lure. So the court is set to decide on this matter. You have to try to force them now. And so persons took them to court concerning the non-appointment of a substantive chancellor and Chief Justice, even though the leader of the opposition has already given his blessing and said these two persons who hold the portfolio currently acting are eminently qualified, and I don't think you could convince any Guyanese otherwise. You can convince any member of the Bar Association, or you can convince any other higher body otherwise than that the current holders of the office of Chief Justice and Chancellor who are acting, they are eminently qualified to be appointed substantively to those posts. Could it be right, that the machinations are that, you know, they hold off until they go into retirement so that they can appoint people who are more favorable to their cause? And the Chief Justice wouldn't even fit that bill, because the Chief Justice, you couldn't in any way look at the Chief Justice and says that she is sensitive to the APNU AFC coalition. Right? More cases in the electoral process of 2020 went against APNU AFC than for. And I don't think you could look through any of those judgments and try to cast any blame and say, oh, this one look a little suspect, or that one. Right? Sir Arthur Conan Doyle says, when you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. So if it's not qualification, it's not skewed judgment, what is it? John Jones, Tessa Smith, Beryl Felix, what is it? Keith Evans. If it's none of those things, Vincent Kilkenny, what is it about these ladies, about these holders of the office, that the PPP finds so unappealing to pursue with alacrity their appointments? What is it? What is it? So that's one of the things in the morning papers. And finally, one of the other headlines we see. Finally, one of the other headlines we see is this one. One of the other headlines. A World Justice Project report. Ghana corruption rate among the highest in the Caribbean. Look forward to them boys coming out and beating down this report. Oh, some no-name entity, some no-name report, blah, 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 blah. But when a no-name entity says, oh, it's a good government, or they're good stewards of the oil and gas sector, oh, that can be on billboards across the country. Because they just do not like criticisms. They just don't like criticisms. And it's the truth. They just do not like criticisms. So those are a couple of the things, guys, we've been following in the morning papers. How things going on by your side? Simone Graves and Amanda Kendall. How things going on by you all? Keith Evans, Jamie Gibbs, Vincent Daman. How things going on by your side? These are some of the things we are contending with at this end. And we want to alert you some of the stuff we're tracking internationally, some of the stuff we're tracking regionally, and then we're going to circle back to some of the things we're tracking in the 592. Some of the things that are brewing out there. Some of the things that are brewing out there, we want to turn our attention to some of those things. Yeah, it's quite a few things we are looking at. And first up, guys, first up, this one looks a little incredible, but it is what it is. They're telling us, as we turn our attention to things we're tracking internationally, they are telling us that the Russians just mistakenly bombed, things we're covering internationally, mistakenly bombed, its own city. I can see some of y'all wondering if these guys understand war. Mistakenly bombed their own city. That's one of the things brewing this one. Mistakenly bombed their own city. So the folks are dealing with that. Accidentally, mistakenly. Yep. That's one of the things we're dealing with this morning. Russia surprised a lot of people, in its clumsiness in this war. Surprised a lot of people. A lot of people didn't see this conflict. Them trying to acquire, to use a word, brashly, to acquire Ukraine in this protracted way. People thought in under a week Ukraine would fall. 1 year later. 1 year later. Right? They said the city is called Valgorod. It has a population of about 340,000. That's like the whole population, actually. Right? And this is where this accidental bombing took place. What kind of people is accidentally bombed? Bomb their own city, bomb their own people. Wow. Interesting times. Look at us we're following, folks. Internationally, rather regionally. Did I get it right? Yeah. Look at us we're following regionally. Oh, this one I should have touched on. Sorry about that. Telling us we missed something. Right? Ukraine, as we're talking about that, Ukraine is set to become a NATO member. As we touched on that. The allies in NATO have agreed, and Ukraine is going to become a NATO member. And so you're going to be seeing some protections, greater protections being afforded to the Ukraine as a member state. As a member state. So that's one of the things we are tracking, good folks, as we turn our attention to some of the things we are following internationally. Those are some of the issues that we are tracking. We got off on the wrong foot, didn't we? All right. Yeah. We started kind of mid-course. but we're going to find our way back. Look what's happening in the UK. Mayor Miller, where are you? All those other guys who join us from the UK. The finance, is it the finance secretary? Dominic Raab resigned. He was had several allegations against him of bullying his staff, not treating people very well in that ministry that he held the portfolio for. Yep. And after a probe into those allegations, Dominic had to go. Dominic had to go. He was the Deputy Prime Minister and Justice Secretary. Justice Secretary. He would be like your Minister of Legal Affairs, Justice Secretary. And he was one of the leading figures here in this administration. Dominic Raab. Am I calling his surname correct? And after mounting criticisms about his treatment of personnel there in the Justice Department, Dominic had to walk. June, you can see the hair. Out front parts, you can see the hair. Tammy Gibbs, you're going to see the hair. You're not going to see the hair. So don't hold your breath. So that is here's where we should have started. And then we talk about NATO. We told you about that. Ukraine is set to become a member of the NATO. And then we should have gone here. We kind of started mid-course with the Russians accidentally blowing up that city, dropping some bombs on its own city. I said we started mid-course. And then in the region, folks, in the region, remember we've been telling you about Farlene Augustine. He is the secretary. I'm trying to get the correct phrasing. He's the secretary. Am I calling it right? I don't think I am. Must be turn our attention to things we're tracking regionally. He is the, let me make sure, I want to get this correct designation. Chief Secretary, that's the phrase. Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. He's the highest government official in Tobago. In Tobago, he's the highest ranking official there, the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly. And his wife was recently stopped by the police and didn't have her license on her. Didn't have her license on her. And he is saying that two things should have happened, or three. The police can request that you produce your license at a later time. They can ask you to leave the vehicle where it is if they suspect you don't have a license, and then some other thing. And he's alleging Farlene Augustine started a new political party there quite recently as well. He's alleging that the policeman was too tough and he had to send some security officials of his to try to intervene because they wouldn't let her go. And then he himself went on the scene there. He himself went on the scene and tried to, he said, bring some relief to the situation. Right? He sent somebody home for her license, and the policeman apparently didn't want the person to hand her the license. It was a whole fracas as being reported in Trinidad. But things seem to have now ironed themselves out. Right? The little issue escalated. Traffic violation. I think the policeman was just trying to be thorough. Right? The policeman was just trying to be thorough. This is a teachable situation there as well. Yep. Mexico. You know them boys want to buy jet here, Ingrid King, Oren Booker, Alison Jones, Tessie Smith. Them boys hunting to buy jet. All country now, them boys want to fly. Them boys don't want to fly commercial. They want to fly private. Well, Mexico is setting an example. The last president of Mexico apparently was a little had a predilection to luxury. You know, he bought a whole plane, huge plane, one of those 747 presidential plane. Well, the new president of Mexico says this ain't gonna work. And when they took over, started renting out the plane for weddings and what have you, and now they've sold it to Tajikistan. Yeah, saying that these extravagances and excesses of governance should not be tolerated. And setting the example, they sold the plane, huge 747, right? Them boys here hunting to buy plane. They don't want to fly ordinary like you and me. Line, one name line, passport, should have to carry no passport. You go from the road to the plane and that's it. You fly out. Sean Costello Edwards says, money rules the world. That's what them boys believe. That's what they believe. Money rules the world. So that's what we're following, guys. Gonzalez met with Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russia. He says he's going to brief CARICOM very soon. Ralph really fighting for relevance. Really, he like Chase Green. You know, they got the thing he wouldn't do to try to maintain relevance and get a brown bag. Really fighting for relevance. So he met with with Lavrov and says he's going to brief CARICOM soon on what was the subjects for discussion. That's how things happening. The tail wagging the dog. He can brief CARICOM soon. St. Kitts again gone ahead from us. We, the Abdul AFC government, that is, had put forward legislation on the decriminalizing of cannabis. And of course, the people you can try to steal your shine, they put forward their own legislation. Right? Well, the Rastafarian community don't think, you know, they have gotten out of it what they wanted. You know, and they contend that they use cannabis sativa as part of their sacrament. You know, as part of their sacrament. And these are all very, very interesting issues. So even after the PPP hijacked our bill, you know, use our bill as a blueprint and framework to inspire theirs, the folks say they still don't have even, and they passed it, you know, reducing or introducing custodial sentences and all of that. The people who benefit from this don't believe that, you know, it looks after their needs. And clearly, as you see, more and more people seem to be producing cannabis sativa locally on a huge scale, on a commercial scale. We told you a man was apprehended just yesterday with $11 million worth of it. Well, the folks there in St. Kitts, they have gone past that. That is the point we really want to make. Right? The government of St. Kitts has approved the full activation of their Cannabis Act 4 of 2020. Right? The internationally recognized celebration of cannabis. This is the period that we are in, and they have now made this disclosure. Right? And they're telling us that this signals its intent, the government of St. Kitts and Nevis, the intent to clarify a responsible cannabis use and cannabis derivatives regulation regime within the Federation. People are moving forward, thinking through the process, right? But understanding that the science, you know, has overtaken us, and their economy is now going to be able to benefit from this. Right? The Cannabis Act passed in 2020 sought to establish the Medical Cannabis Authority to provide for the lawful access of medicinal cannabis as an alternative treatment for persons who are suffering from a qualifying medical condition, and for a comprehensive licensing licensing scheme to regulate the cultivation, supply, possession, production, and use of medical cannabis. However, until this regulation was passed, they're telling us only part 1 and 2 of the Act setting out preliminary matters related to the establishment of the Medical Cannabis Authority were activated. Now the whole Act has come into force. People are moving forward progressively. You see, they're giving some signs like they want to move forward, but it's just fakery. Fraudery and fakery. Fraudery and fakery. So that's what's happening on that front, folks. Regionally, again, St. Kitts and Nevis moving forward on these issues. Moving forward. Anthony Silva Donna Daly, moving forward. Wills Felix, moving forward. And as we now turn attention to some of the things we are tracking locally, folks, locally, we heard about this accident recently. We heard about this accident recently. We heard about it. And as more investigation or the product of investigations come to light, the details of investigations come to light, we realize that this was a former Region 10 Vice Chair who lost his life, I think, at Beehive quite recently. We reported on that accident, but now we get a fuller sense of really what took place. Right, so former vice chairman of Region 10, Byron Lewis, died on Wednesday night following that crash at Beehive. And we want to say our thoughts and prayers go out to Mr. Lewis, friends, family, and loved ones. Our thoughts and our prayers go out to them. You know, but again, another statistic about the carnage on our roadways. But again, nobody seems to be taking this serious. Who are in authority have purview over these matters and can bring some sense to the roadways. And there's a number of ways it can be done. We might not eliminate accidents altogether, but we can mitigate, minimize. We can do it. We can do it. All right? We can do it. The Commonwealth Assistant General Secretary is trying to send these boys a message. Investigative journalism can stamp out corruption. Investigative journalism. What we have here is a lot of reporters. And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. All right? So this is the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth, he is the Assistant General Secretary, Louis Franceschi, Assistant General Secretary of the Commonwealth. And we have been talking about this. Our media fraternity got to up the game. Up the game. Saw a whole press conference with Jaglio yesterday on local government, and nobody never asked, but it's 20 years you're not local government, how come you're so big on local government now? 20 years. You never had local government election. You got to do the work. You have to do the work. And those of you who, you got politics in your blood, young and old. There are times when, before I had a position of influencer or something like that, I used to go to the National Library and just read. I hadn't have an interest in local government. If you're on the ground with people, you have to have an interest in that, because local government is the first contact people have with the system. I used to just go to the library long before I was deputy mayor, years before, and just read all articles on the city and issues and all of that. So by the time I came to the thing, I had a fair framework into which how the thing operates and how it should operate. And our journalists got to be like that. Whatever is your profession, I find people aren't curious. People aren't curious. And if you go 1 degree above what the market is offering in whatever profession you have, right, you can attract some serious attention, positive attention to you, your business, or whatever. If you go 1%, we got about 700 people watching us on a morning show. That's pretty decent for a local show. Right? When we talked about doing a local show, in the morning especially, we wanted a certain look to it, a certain feel to it. Right? I can produce these graphics that you guys look at, but it helps to boost the quality of the show that we offer. We got to pay for that. I could just come on, 2 old curtain hanging in the background, a little flambeau flickering, and be talking. But we want to offer the Guyanese listenership and viewership, those folks who are going to be engaging us internationally, something with a little more oomph, something with a little more something. And I find too many people aren't too curious. And our journalists, got some beautiful folks in the profession who I admire personally. Different media houses, you got some jagabats too. But some people, I read them and say, this is good writing here. Right? I think Tandika Percival at Starbuck News is a decent journalist, does a lot of research. Femi Harris, Starbuck News, the young lady from Kaichur News, Devika, am I calling her name right? Who they were verifying on that PPP blog, Live in Guyana or Live in Guyana. Another decent journalist. Is the question she was asking that was hurting them, and so they gone and hide behind some page that they control and they vilify her. But I think there has got to be a move for all of our journalists to kind of up the game. If you report on crime, you should got some kind of a passion for criminology. Maybe the entity you work for can seek to, empower you through courses and so on to up your game. You can got the theory, but you don't got the practice. You can got the practice, but you don't got the theory. You got to match both. And I think that is what the Assistant General Secretary for the Commonwealth was telling us. Investigative journalism can stamp out corrupt practices because they know you come in and pursue the truth. You're fact-finding, you are going after sources to qualify what you're hearing. And that can help to keep us accountable. But if all our journalists doing is you're going to press conferences and regurgitating who, what, where, when, why, right? And nothing else is coming to influence that and to buttress that. Where are we going? So I thought it was good advice. And he was giving it to Gail Teixeira. Gail Teixeira, she needs that. She needs that advice. Look at this, breaking news. The permanent secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs, May Toussaint, they're telling us that she was on her way to China, right? Now them flying about the place, and U.S. authorities have confiscated her phone. Now, why would the U.S. authorities have an interest in her phone? Jadian talked about that yesterday in the press conference. Everything else under the sun that gives them political mileage, they can talk about. He can talk about May Toussaint. This is the permanent secretary. And her conduct there as permanent secretary is one that really falls far below what should be accepted as somebody who is in that position. Falls far below. And again, I want to thank Starbuck News, because it's Starbuck News who is breaking this piece of news here. Who's bringing this to light? The Home Affairs Permanent Secretary, May Tucson. Her phone was confiscated by U.S. authorities. Yep. I've been telling you all, we can start seeing some rendition happening with the U.S. authority and them. When they were in government last, several of them had their diplomatic visas revoked. Their visas revoked, period. Several of them. I think because of the conduct and some of the skullduggery that they're involved in, you can see more and more of this. Right? I passed through the US plenty times, stayed plenty times. I never had my phone. They never had an interest in my phone. When they see the condition of my phone, my one give me a phone. They never had any interest in my phone. Why they go out with my phone? This is the US authorities. You don't see Kwame coming out with a statement on this. This is one of their permanent secretaries. Everybody saying May was ill-suited for that position. She had no history in the public service. Graduated with a diploma in accounting or something like that. The former PS there had a master's degree, right? But she wasn't one of their people, so she had to go. They bring in May. And May has been one problem to the next. One problem to the next. Now her phone, her cellular phone, was confiscated by US authorities. Now that phone must have some interesting things in it. I wonder what's going to become of that. That phone is going to have some interesting thing. Javier had about 2 hours plus yesterday to brief the nation on that during a press conference. You didn't hear a word. You didn't hear a word. That's how these folks are hypocrites. Hypocrites. On the heels of leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton's press conference, he held the press conference to respond. Not because he heard something, right, that warranted a response, but we're in campaign mode. So he has set his press conference to come after Mr. Norton's press conference. So Mr. Norton doesn't have the last say in anything. And in all that time, he talked all that nonsense, lies. He didn't respond once. He didn't say once. Our permanent secretary, here's what you should know. Our permanent secretary has been detained. Her phone was confiscated. She was released, and we're looking into it. These are the transparency people, you know, the good governance people, you know, and that they don't come around and be fooling some of y'all. Like the food park in Meeting Park. Right? Like the food park in Meeting Park. So they go with May phone. Let's see what comes of it. You know, they don't have no post-cabinet briefings and them things. So you got to find out things by the way. And then when you start drilling down in them, they come against you like they did that journalists from Kaitro News. They come after you in the vilest of manner. In all that press conference, yes, Jaguar didn't deny once that that website belongs to them. He didn't deny once. Right? And they got the authority to find out from Facebook who owns that website. Right? But the things that they can't say publicly, they're going to hide behind the screen to say it. That's why he's a coward. They're cowards. They're cowards in that way. That's what they are. So the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Home Affairs, you understand how critical that ministry is? Her cellular phone was confiscated by US authorities. Can you understand what an indictment that is? In any country, she would have to go and leave until we understand what is really happening. But you know what? This is Guyana. This is Guyana. So we're watching that. We're watching that. So other press conference yesterday I told you of. You know, Mr. Norton, before Mr. Jaglio's press conference, said, revealed to this country that they had uncovered several fraudulent practices by PPP candidate, where they obtained signatures from people who never consented for them, you know, being candidates. You, as a councillor, as a person vying for councillor, you have to, go around in your community and have persons sign up and say, yes, I agree. A number of signatures are needed. They're telling us that scores upon scores of signatures were forged. This is what Mr. Norton said in his press conference. And then Jaglio run out afterward saying, we have the same problem too. That's classic Machiavellian, classic PPP, classic Russian. Right? Murky the waters. Oh, we have some instances too. And then in his press conference, he said, well, we have evidence, but I can't show it all now. I can't show it now. We have the evidence. Mr. Norton produced the evidence. We have evidence too, but I can't show it now. Right? I can't show it now. Absolute madness. Absolute madness. Take a listen to some of what was said in that press conference. Take a listen.
I hope that GCOM will pay careful attention to all of these groups now outside of the PNC, because I believe the PNC APNU could not contest in some areas. So they have front groups. They're supporting a few front groups who are aligned to them because they can't go into some areas. APNU name is in the mud in those areas. So they have gone through or are supportive of some other groups. I have now, as we analyze the other groups contesting, about 20 of them who have forged on a mass scale the names of people, leaving out APNU. Over 20 of those groups and individuals who have forged people's signature. And I hope that GCOM pays particular attention to this. As I said before, we will be talking to the police and about these issues. We've urged people to go to the police, and we're going to take strong measures to deal with this. Now, APNU's list was so good that their own members of parliament didn't support it, as someone pointed out. They were absent on the day, like the nomination day. The list was so great that they were missing. But they've started back on the ground. The same propaganda that you hear, but at the national level now, they're being called out more and more on their racism. But do not think that APNU will change. So they can't get away with it at the national level because we've been committed to fighting this off. And every single day to speak about this issue, that our party is the only party that is open to people of every race and will ensure that they're treated fairly. That is the only party. And that APNU is the converse, that it's not a party of the future. But they have continued with this message on the ground. So I got a call a couple of days, 2 days ago, that they were campaigning in a part in Linden. And someone went, and so they're resurrecting this old disproved thing that Stabrook knows itself. I hope that GCOM.
That's some of what came out there. I have a problem hearing the audio clearly at my end, so I hope that you heard what we wanted you to hear in that clip. This is them talking about their signatures being forged. This is just after Mr. Norton said in his press conference. This is what we were hearing here, right? Suddenly he got the same problem. Suddenly he got the same problem. Here's a little more of that.
The leader of the opposition just concluded his press conference. And as we've come to expect, is very vague about many matters. But we can tolerate vagueness. He spoke about illegalities, and I want to deal with those. I agree with Mr. Norton on this point, that anyone who has committed any illegality in these elections should face the full brunt of the law. And so we are aware that Mr. Norton's party has forged many candidates, their signatures, placed them on lists that they never had any knowledge of. They forged signatures for the backers. And we're taking steps to address this matter. And I'm glad if Mr. Norton would do the same, since he says he has information, because we need to send a signal to anyone who is contesting these elections. All the parties, the individuals, as well as the other groups, that they should not commit fraud. If they're seeking to represent the people of this country, they must not engage in a fraudulent process to contest these elections. We've seen hundreds of people literally who have had their signatures forged, placed on lists without their knowledge. We have advised them to go to the police. Many have gone to the police. Many are also
So, folks, that is what we saw yesterday. He certainly got the same problem. He certainly got the exact same problem. Donald Joseph said it best: put up or shut up. Put up or shut up. But the evidence, I'm gonna show y'all later. We're gonna show you guys the evidence later. And Vester Hardy, Rachumar got it right, choking on the lies. Whenever he's lying, play with the nose, the ears, loosen the tie, making space for the lies, room for the lies, pack of lies. In addition to saying that in Region 5, folks like Darren Wade and Carl Joseph and Vintroy Jordan bullying people, going door to door. This is part of the lies. Bullying people to take their names off of their list, as backers for their candidates. Bullying people, that is a whole pack of lies during that press conference. During that press conference, a whole pack of lies. Also in that press conference yesterday, Naomi Drucker and Bella Mona, Maureen, Edward Brooms, Dolly, and all the other folks joining us. Right? Of course, Chase Green came to the fore. And as someone is pointing out in a letter to the editor just today, these guys once believed that, Chase Green once said publicly, his son don't get contracts under the PPP. And I saw a reporter ask brilliantly yesterday, isn't your about face, twist mouth, choke mouth on Chase Green hypocritical? That's a good journalist. Don't be afraid to be pointed. Right? If you can do it professionally, don't be afraid to be pointed. Aren't you being hypocritical on this? Right? And here is Eric Mosley writing in Sabbath News asking, or rather reminding the nation that Chase Green once contended her son couldn't get contracts when the PPP was in power. And now this about face. Now this about face on the PPP. To that point of your dotishness, you could cross over. And here is that reporter asking yesterday, Here is that reporter asking, yesterday I think it was, about that hypocritical stance of the administration on Chase Green. This sudden acceptance and embrace of Chase Green. But before we get there, the guy said we don't have that quite queued up as yet. Amanzo Walton Desir, arrived in this press conference too. He brought up Amanzo. So he's saying, they're not only working on the ground here, they're going overseas now and telling people what we have done. They're going at overseas press conferences. So the same fellow who ends up apologizing for the party blog that castigated the young lady from Kaichua News, he is now vilifying Amanzo in his press conference. Vilifying Amanzo Walton Desir, attorney at law, member of parliament, shadow minister for foreign affairs and international cooperation. Right? This is him drawing Amanzo into the press conference yesterday.
So they're externalizing this. They go abroad to externalize, because at some of the fora where we are not, then they talk, they spread the race hate again. So I saw some Amanzo Walton speaking at some place, the U.S. National Action Network, and saying that the PPP is totalitarian. This comes from a person and a party that actively sought to steal the last elections. I remember Amanzo Walton, who left her cushy job at the Civil Aviation Authority, didn't go to work there. She was at the convention center in the recount trying to thwart the recount, trying to mislead people. She was there, a person who tried to steal an election from a party that is known for stealing elections and was true to form in the last one, again, tried to steal the last one, telling the people in the US that we are a totalitarian government, and including the US that helped to expose the machinations here and also help threaten sanctions against the APNU, and some of them were sanctioned because they were trying to steal the elections. Imagine that. But you know what? She will say this to a group of people who don't know of the APNU's history and do not know about their attempts, their historical proclivity towards stealing elections. You can't change that. So that is, she takes that message there because she can't tell a sane Guyanese that in Guyana and not have them laugh at her. The next thing she says, oh, the government is racist because some female officer and private attorney spat on a female police officer. But the government of Guyana is racist because of that. Now that has to take its full course in the courts and everywhere else. If a person does that and racist, people have recourse now that we put in place, the Ethnic Relations Commission, or go to the police. And then something else about the police. Now the police, a black commissioner, Afro-Guyanese commissioner, killing somebody else. Those are the examples of us being racist. So
Yep. So a whole mouthful on Amanzo. No, Amanzo is not a candidate in local government elections. Amanzo is not on the ballot. Amanzo is a member of the National Assembly. Right? But hear him out there tearing down this young woman. Right? Just because she's gone internationally, and exposing them, that's the problem. That's the problem. She went internationally at the national conference where you had the US Vice President attending and exposing them, right? And he vexed because he want to take attention off, Parkimita Pat and her basket of issues, her baggage. He wants to take attention off of her. So he pounces on the manza. But I know man's able with him. It's not the lash, Jack Dio. It's the lash back. It's the lash back. He talking about who being bullied in Region 5, and here is he trying to bully a manza. Which conference she must go to and what she must talk. He trying to bully her. He's trying to bully her. That's the nature of the fella. That's the nature of the fella. Well, you know who else came up yesterday? Before we come to Chase Green substantively, the Mohammeds also featured in that press conference yesterday. They were also featured in that press conference, right? And he talked about the company working for the Mohammeds, the PR company that they had hired at $35,000 US a month. You know what people in this country could do with that kind of money? Right? But they hire a PR company so that they could run around in the US and try to make them look good. And try to tell people they aren't doing some of the things that they're doing. Right? The Mohammeds hired the very same company as well. Here is your boy on that.
There are a number of other things I see again. They have, on the matter with, I saw a headline which says, US firm used by Shell, that is Mohammed, has been working for government of Guyana, and that's a fact. Let me tell you the history of this. So, because I was asked by a few reporters, now, we hired this firm, the government of Guyana, as you've seen, they filed with the relevant US authorities to represent us in New York. Sometime last year, about October, we heard the firm was in Guyana, and we said, what are you doing in Guyana? And they said that their client is the Mohammed. The Director General immediately called them in and said, you can't work for us if you're working for a private individual. And if you don't, we're going to terminate our engagement. We're now renewing our engagement, which is coming to an end in April. So in March, we gave them notice and we terminated the engagement because we don't think that they can represent us as a government and represent a private individual. They had to make a choice. And so that was our position. So this was in October of last year. The Director General met with them and gave them that ultimatum, basically.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That is very interesting. Now, again, you only know about all of that because Tabuk News, doing the work of good journalists, told this nation about that issue. They never came out and told us that initially. Never came out. These people who value transparency so much, these people who value good governance so much, Kim Batson, Deborah Angray, these people, Abiola Anderson, that like the rule of law. The amount of secrets they have, you see, anything that can make them look bad will never see the light of day. Anybody who can make them look bad, they're going to fix it, and that's why you see this attack on the manzo. You see? But anybody who could give them a little political mileage, they're going to welcome, like Parker Meter Pat. Oh, wash up cab horse. They're gonna weak. They're gonna jump on. Yep. Same Parker Meter Pat who said repeatedly that Chichen couldn't walk under them. Suddenly, here the reporter asked about Chase Green, in that presser yesterday. Here the reporter asked about Chase Green. And here the response. And I love again what the reporter said. I think she's attached to Sabbath News. And she being a hypocrite. And she being a hypocrite. I think the volume on her question is a little low. There's little we can do about that. But that's what she's saying. You're a hypocrite. You know, you abuse out Chase Green. You abuse out the parking meter. And hear this classical Machiavellian, Russian-trained response, convoluted as ever, right? I saw a headline in one morning, people says, oh, they're a forgiving party, right? So murderers and rapists and corrupt, everybody welcome there. You stop being those things once you cross the line and you go for, right? Corruption and so on, don't become sinful and those kinds of things. Rapists and pedophiles, all of them pack out in there. Once you start singing their tune, you see, you don't crop no more. You don't crop no more. So here is your boy. Classical response again. Misdirection. Right? Accommodating of what you frowned upon yesterday. How could people trust them? How? Take a look and take a listen. All right, our apologies there. Don't know why all those flashing lights. She's problems. You see? Problems, the ladies' problems. A lot of problems. They're going to take a second run at it and see if we get it right. All right, we're going to have to circle back to that one later on. Problems, that's what I'm telling you. a whole pack of problems. You see? A whole bundle of problems. Right? That's the energy they come with. People are in disbelief. Not that one would cross over. That's your business. But that somebody, you know, who at every turn castigated these folks. Castigated them. Right? But you see, for that brown bag, you see, for that brown bag, people going into all kinds of contortions. You see, for that brown bag, all kinds of contortions for that brown bag. And you guys got to watch them. You know, we got to watch them with 5 eyes. I don't know if they can think they'll ever be trusted in any meaningful way, you know, play any meaningful role. You know, we're going to try it one more time and see if we have it. Just behaving badly as usual. Folks, that's going to do it for us at this end this morning. That is going to do it for we. Great having you guys on today. Thanks for joining our broadcast. We're going to circle back with that one a little later on. We are going to circle back to that one a little later on. Thanks for joining us this morning. Glad to have seen each and every one of you. Valid, credible information. Darlie and Maxine, Sharon, Audrey, and all the other folks joining us. Folks, we want to alert you that if you are doing your business and you need a good justice of the peace, a good commissioner of oaths to affidavit, we want to recommend, of course, as per usual, the Alistair Collins firm. There's some folks that we use and trust ourselves, and we recommend them highly to you. Apolitical people and just doing the business that they have to do. Good commissioners of oaths to affidavit, good justices of the peace. They're right down there, very convenient at the Callion Mall on Lamaha Street between Camp and Waterloo Street. They're open Monday through Saturdays, 649 6410, 649 6410. And again, touch base with them, and they're gonna give you guys a fix up. Touch base with them, and they're certain to give you guys the fix up. Yep, that's some of what's happening at that end. The guys are still trying to see if we can pull in some of the audio for us, and so you can hear the classic flippism. Still trying to pull in that audio for us, so you guys can get a sense. Classic flippism. That's the people we deal. That's the people we're dealing with. Classic flippism.
She was also the mayor.
You want to let me a pen, please, so I can make the notes? Yeah. So, first, yes.
Yes. She was also the mayor.
Yeah.
At the time of the controversial parking meter contract project which your government has condemned and has heavily criticized. That case is now before the courts for multi-million US dollars. So you find it hypocritical that you've now welcomed this person into your house, and how do you justify this at all?
On Chase Green, you asked two things. On the parking meter, and you asked about us criticizing people who didn't say much about the 5 months period of rigging. And yes, it's true that we have been critical of some people.
That's not working for us. So we're gonna see you guys right now. That is not working for us.
For saying nothing.
Apologies there, good folks.
It is, if you look at it carefully, again, it is the ones who are being selective.
Respect and manners, share the light before you go. Smash that emoji button, and thank you for joining our humble program. If you're new to our program, we mix it up in the mornings a little bit, we're a little slow paced in the morning. Thank you for joining FYI for your information. June Cameron said we outside at 12 o'clock. Good to see you, June, and
they're the ones trying to
Naomi, Jock, and all the other folks. We're going to see you guys back at 12. I think Naomi said it was working. Was it?
They don't even know.
We're going to see you guys back at 12. We're going to see you guys back at 12. Have a great day. Right? I see Agatha says what she says was true.
And he's openly racist. The country has seen that. Then
what she said was true. We're going to see you guys back at 12. Thanks for joining us. That's going to do it for us in this.
Those are the ones who will criticize because